Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to talk about a touching Spanish romantic drama from 2024 called Goyo. This is a story about a man who sees the world differently, a woman carrying a heavy burden, and how love can sometimes be the most confusing, yet beautiful, masterpiece of all. The movie introduces us to our main character, Goyo. He is at a public swimming pool, but he isn't just swimming for exercise. He is deep underwater, holding his breath. In the silence of the water, Goyo is in his own world. He is daydreaming. In his mind, he is not in a pool. He is walking through a vast, open field, carrying his painting supplies, looking for the perfect spot to create art. The water is his escape from the noise of the real world. Suddenly, he snaps out of his daydream and surfaces. He looks up to see a woman climbing out of the pool, looking annoyed. It turns out that while Goyo was lost in his imagination, he had been underwater for a very long time. The woman had actually gone to complain to the swimming instructor, worried that Goyo was drowning or causing a scene. Goyo realizes what is happening. The man lectures him, saying that holding his breath for that long is dangerous and irresponsible. But Goyo, who prefers his own company and lacks a social filter, simply looks at the man and tells him to shut his mouth. He doesn't care about the man's concern. He just wants to be left alone in his quiet world. After his swim, Goyo goes home. He is a man of strict routine. He dresses himself very neatly, making sure every button is correct. He eats his breakfast methodically and takes his daily medication. As he moves through the house, when he hears the sound of a piano, it is his sister, Saula, practicing. Goyo has high-functioning autism. Because of this, things that might seem unimportant to others are fascinating and critical to him. He notices the smallest details. After a brief exchange with his sister, he heads out for work. Goyo works as a guide at a large art museum. On his way to work, it starts to rain. Goyo, prepared as always, opens his umbrella and walks calmly. But as he waits to cross the street, he looks to the other side of the road and sees something that catches his eye. There is a woman standing there. She is struggling. She is holding a phone to her ear with one hand, trying to have a conversation, while her other hand fights with a broken, old umbrella that is falling apart in the wind. Goyo stares at her. Her name is Magda. In that chaotic moment, the rain, the broken umbrella, her frustration, Goyo sees something beautiful. He is instantly captivated. He doesn't just see a woman, he sees a work of art. Right there on the street corner, he decides that he wants to paint her. Magda, frustrated that she can't fix her umbrella, angrily throws it into a nearby trash can and storms off into the rain. Goyo watches her go, his mind already racing with artistic inspiration. Goyo arrives at the museum. As he walks through the grand halls, he counts his steps. 1, 2, 3. This is how he stays grounded. He begins his shift, guiding visitors through the gallery, explaining the history and meaning behind the paintings with deep knowledge. While he is lecturing a group of tourists, he looks across the room and freezes. It is her, the woman from the street. Magda is there wearing a security guard uniform. She works at the museum too. Goyo forgets about his tour group for a moment and just stares at her. He is completely fixated. However, Magda eventually walks away to patrol another area. Goyo, remembering his duty, decides to focus back on his work, though his mind is now stuck on her. When the workday ends, Magda goes to home. Her life is very different from Goyo's quiet, structured world. She takes the train to a humbler part of the city. As she approaches her home, she finds a man waiting for her. It is Miguel, her ex-husband. Miguel is a troubled man. He has a history of being violent and aggressive, so much so that he has been detained by the police in the past. He tries to talk to Magda, pleading with her to let him back into her life. He says he wants them to be a family again. But Magda is strong. She refuses. She reminds him that he is not welcome here. She tells him that she has strictly instructed their children not to let him inside the house. She orders him to leave. Miguel gets defensive. He argues that it is his house too, and he claims he won't leave just because she is kicking him out. But Magda stands her ground, speaking to him bitterly and firmly. Realizing he can't win this argument right now, Miguel backs down and leaves. Back at Goyo's house, he is still thinking about the woman in the rain. He takes out his canvas and paints Magda from memory. He captures her likeness perfectly. His sister, Saula, comes into the room and sees the painting. She is impressed by how good it is. She asks Goyo, "Who is this woman?" Goyo answers simply, "She is a security guard at the museum." To him, it is just a fact, but to his sister, it is a sign that Goyo is expanding his world. We cut back to Magda's home. She is sitting with her younger son, Tato. It is just the two of them, and they share a sweet moment of conversation. But the mood changes when her older son, Kuti, comes home. Magda is upset with Kuti. It turns out that on the day she started her new job at the museum, Kuti left his little brother Tato home alone. Magda scolds him, worried about their safety. She looks at her eldest son and gives him a stern warning. She told her son not to pick up his father's bad habits. She is terrified that Kuti will grow up to be irresponsible and aggressive like Miguel. The next day, Goyo goes to the pool again before work. Once again, he stays underwater too long, and once again, the swimming instructor scolds him. Goyo ignores it and heads to the museum. He goes through his routine, explaining art to visitors. But today, he is determined to make contact with Magda. When the shift ends, he sees her leaving. He decides to follow her, wanting to introduce himself. He follows her all the way onto the subway train. He stands near her, staring, trying to find the courage to speak. But suddenly, the environment turns against him. The lights in the subway car start to flicker rapidly. The screeching sound of the train wheels against the tracks becomes deafeningly loud. For someone with autism like Goyo, this sensory overload is terrifying. He loses his composure. The noise and the flashing lights become too much. He starts to panic. Overwhelmed by nausea and fear, Goyo vomits right there in the train car. The other passengers look at him with disgust, thinking he is drunk or crazy. Goyo feels the weight of their judgment. He can't take it anymore. As soon as the doors open at the next station, he runs off the train, fleeing the embarrassment. Goyo runs home and locks himself in his room. He feels incredible guilt and shame about what happened on the train. He refuses to come out. Eventually, his older brother Matut comes to check on him. Matut is kind and patient. He coaxes Goyo to come out and eat dinner. Seeing that Goyo is deeply depressed, Matut asks him what happened. Goyo opens up and explains the disaster on the subway. The next day, the siblings are eating together. Goyo is still acting a bit strange, speaking in his usual blunt, unfiltered way. His sister, Saula, gets annoyed by his behavior and rolls her eyes. But Matut understands Goyo better. Later that night, Matut takes Goyo for a walk. He asks Goyo about the woman he was following. "Tell me about her," Matut says. Goyo explains how he feels. Matut listens carefully. He tells Goyo that he shouldn't give up, but he needs to fix the situation. He tells Goyo that he must apologize to the woman for following her, and for the scene on the train. Matut even practices with Goyo, teaching him exactly what to say and how to apologize sincerely. Armed with his brother's advice, Goyo goes to find Magda at the museum the next day. He approaches her station. At first, it goes badly. Magda recognizes him as the weird guy from the train. She thinks he is stalking her or causing trouble. She is about to hit him with something to kick him out. But Goyo stands his ground and speaks. He introduces himself formally. He explains everything that happened in the subway train. Magda pauses. She listens to his explanation and realizes she had judged him wrongly. She feels terrible for thinking he was just a creep or a drunk. She softens immediately. After Goyo returns to his post, Magda's coworker leans over and tells her, "He's a good guy. Be nice to him." At the end of the shift, Goyo and Magda seem to have reached a new understanding. Magda finds Goyo and tells him that the subway is closed for a while, so she has to wait. Goyo sees an opportunity. He asks if he can buy her a drink or a meal while she waits. She agrees, and they go to a nearby diner. Sitting in the diner, they finally talk. Goyo is honest about who he is. He asks Magda about her life. "Did you always want to be a security guard?" he asks. Magda sighs. She opens up to him. She tells him that her dream was to study medicine, to be a doctor, but she only finished middle school because family problems got in the way. She had to work to survive. As she talks, Goyo stares at her face. He notices a small yellow spot on her skin. Instead of ignoring it, he points it out. He describes it using poetic, artistic language, making it sound like a mark of beauty rather than a blemish. Magda is touched by his unique perspective. When they finish eating, Magda asks him, "Why were you on the train that day?" Goyo looks at her and admits the truth. "I followed you because I wanted to talk to you, like we are doing today." He goes home that night feeling happy. He paints another picture of her and sleeps peacefully. While Goyo sleeps, his brother and sister are at a restaurant, talking about him. Saula is worried. She thinks Goyo is incapable of having a relationship, and that this woman might hurt him or take advantage of him. She thinks Goyo is socially helpless. Matut, however, defends his brother. He criticizes Saula for treating Goyo like a child. "Let him be," Matut says. "Let him live his life." The next day, Goyo is back at the pool. The instructor yells at him again for holding his breath. This time, Goyo has had enough. He just ignores the man. He angrily raises his middle finger at someone and storms out. He is starting to feel more rebellious. At the museum, Goyo sees a young boy staring intently at a painting. Goyo approaches him and asks what he is doing. The boy said that he is waiting for his mom, Magda. Goyo pauses. He realizes now that Magda has children. She has a whole life he didn't know about. But instead of being scared off, Goyo accepts it. He stands with the boy, patiently explaining the artwork to him until Magda returns. Goyo and Matuti go to watch a soccer match in the city. Afterward, at dinner, Goyo brings up the topic of sex education. He talks about sex education to his brother. Matut listens and gives him another piece of advice. Why don't you invite her to dinner? A real date. The next day at the museum, Goyo tries to get closer to Magda. He shows her a specific painting and explains its meaning with great passion. Then, he takes a breath and invites her to dinner. Magda hesitates. She looks at him and said that she is much older than him, and she thinks it's not appropriate. But Goyo has an answer ready. He explains that the difference in their ages and their worlds is not a bad thing. He says it is like a symbol, a contrast that makes them unique. Magda is charmed by his sincerity. She feels a connection to this gentle man. She agrees to the date. Magda dresses up in her best clothes and goes to Goyo's address. When she arrives, she is shocked. Goyo lives in a magnificent large house. She realizes he comes from a wealthy family. Over dinner, Goyo talks about art, specifically Van Gogh. He speaks with such intelligence and passion. Later, they go to his room to drink wine. Goyo shows her some old family photos. Magda asks about his parents. Goyo tells her a sad story. He says his father died in Vietnam. He explains that one day his mother was drunk and caused a car accident. His father died in the crash. He reveals that he is the son of his father's second wife, and that his mother was never really a mother to him. She was negligent, and is now living with another man, somewhere else. The mood shifts from sad to romantic. They put on some music and they dance slowly in the room. After that, Magda went to toilet. On the way, Magda looks over and sees the painting. He made of her the one from the rainy day. She asks about it. Goyo nods and said that he drew it after the first time he saw her, when she were looking for a job. Magda is overwhelmed with emotion. She hugs him tightly. That night, they sleep together, finding comfort in each other's arms. The next morning, Magda gets dressed to leave. Goyo, being thoughtful, sees that she would have to walk far to the subway station. He insists on calling her a taxi and paying for it. Magda takes the taxi home, but her happiness evaporates the moment she walks through her front door. Miguel is there. She is furious. She tries to get him out. Miguel explodes with rage. He shouts that he has found a job, that he is helping with the house, and demands to know why she is treating him like garbage. The argument gets heated. Miguel gets in her face, asking endless angry questions. Tato, her younger son, sees this and thinks his father is going to hurt his mom. He jumps in to stop Miguel. Miguel, completely out of control, lashes out at his own son. When Magda tries to protect the boy, Miguel punches her. The violence shocks everyone. Tato angry at his father and forces him out of the house. Meanwhile, Goyo is oblivious to this violence. He goes to a soccer game with Matut. But Goyo isn't watching the game. He is staring at his phone, waiting for a text from Magda. She isn't replying. He asks Matut that something is wrong. Matut is too focused on the game and ignores him. Goyo feels neglected. He gets angry and just walks out of the stadium. Matut has to run after him. When he catches up, they argue. Goyo accuses Matut of not caring about him. Matut, frustrated, admits he is tired of always having to babysit Goyo. The next day, worried because Magda still hasn't replied, Goyo goes to her house. Tato answers the door and explains that Magda's phone was broken. Goyo is relieved that she wasn't ignoring him. He spends some time with Magda and her son, feeling like part of the family. But back at Goyo's home, Saula is plotting. She tells Matut that this woman is bad news, and that she is going to confront Magda personally. Matut warns her to stay out of it, but Saula is determined. Goyo, back in his room, is doing his own investigation. He looks up Miguel online. He finds out where Miguel works. In a misguided attempt to protect Magda, Goyo goes to Miguel's workplace. He walks right up to Miguel. He tells him, Magda deserves a good man. She deserves someone who will love her and take care of her. You hurt her. You are the one who gave her that bruise. Do not touch her again. Miguel is humiliated and furious. He punches Goyo in the face. Thankfully, Miguel's co-workers jump in and pull Miguel away, allowing Goyo to escape. Goyo runs to Magda and tells her what he did. He thinks he was being a hero, but Magda is upset. She tells him, You have no right to interfere in my life like that. Stay out of my business. She tells him to stop. Goyo is confused and heartbroken. His mind starts to spiral again. He runs away from the museum, out into the busy streets. The noise of the city attacks him. The honking cars, the shouting, the engines. It's like the subway incident, but worse. He covers his ears, disoriented. In his panic, he steps into the road and screaming. Goyo wakes up in the hospital. Magda rushes to see him. She meets Saula there and talk with her. Suddenly, Goyo's mother arrives. She has flown in after hearing the news. She is a wealthy, distant woman, but she tries to comfort her son. While Goyo recovers, family tensions explode in the waiting room. Saula is angry at her mother for being absent for so many years. She tells her stepmother to leave, but the mother fights back. She reveals a dark secret about the father's death. She admits the car accident happened because the father refused to wear a seatbelt, not just because she was drunk. She cries, showing vulnerability for the first time. Matut and Saula finally begin to understand their stepmother's pain. He stops walking Magda to the train. One day, on the subway stairs, he confronts his sister Saula. He tells her that he knows she thinks he is a burden. He pours out his frustration about his own existence. Magda is also miserable. She misses him deeply. Later, Goyo attends his sister's piano concert. As he listens to the beautiful music, he closes his eyes. The melody triggers memories of Magda, her smile, their dance, the yellow spot on her face. The music unlocks his suppressed emotions. After the concert, Goyo runs to the swimming pool. He jumps in, sinks to the bottom, and screams. He screams underwater, letting out all the pain, the frustration, and the love he has been holding in. The next day, Goyo makes a decision. He takes the painting of Magda and goes to find her. He meets her on the street. Magda looks at him with sad eyes. She tells him, "Goyo, I have hurt you too much. I have too many problems. I am too flawed for you." Goyo looks at her intently. He knows that the mess with Miguel, the accident, it was all part of it. He tells her, "I love you exactly as you are. To me, your flaws make you perfect." Magda starts to cry. But this time they are tears of relief. They embrace. They have both found someone who understands them. The movie ends with them together, ready to face the world. And that is the story of Goyo. It's a beautiful reminder that love doesn't look the same for everyone. If you enjoyed this recap, please like and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories. Thank you for watching.